Hi everyone, this is the Intuitive Painting of the Week for July 22nd through the 29th. Here's the painting that came about. I am so excited to share this one with you. I was up till 4 in the morning. There's a lot to go through. And I want to take a minute to just say how much I enjoy doing these Painting of the Week, and thank you so much for subscribing to my Patreon and being here with me. So this painting will be, the oracle card is called Remember. It's got a really wonderful message you'll see in the time-lapse video coming right up. And these, so here I've got the 4 paintings that are going to become the oracle cards for this month, and then these 4 paintings are going to, I'll do the drawing on the first for to see who gets these. Anybody who is in the co-creator or collector's level will be entered into the drawing for these paintings. So here's this week, this one from last week, this one from the week before, and this from the beginning of the week. And then also next week I will be doing for, I think it's the co-creator level and above, we'll get a bonus reading where I'll go through all 4 paintings and talk about the coming energies for the month ahead. So without further ado, enjoy the analysis and time-lapse of the Painting of the Week. Have a wonderful week. Okay, let's take a look. There is a lot going on. So the intention with this painting was chosen from our poll, and it was about decisions, making decisions, and also spirit guides. So looking at it in that context, first taking a look at like the gestalt, the whole picture. And what it's saying to me is like, enter the mind. I kept hearing it's all in your head. So it's like a lot about thinking and thought and imagination and intuition and the role that our thoughts play and mind, those kinds of ideas. I noticed that like her nose is all like this bright, it's a very bright spot on the painting. It kind of draws my attention, plus it's very prominent. And I had a hard time, I was going with the lines of the outline here. I saw the face immediately, and then this 3/4 view is hard to draw anyway. But it just, so there was something about that. So what I kept hearing was like you have a nose for that, like a knack for something, or it's on the nose, like it's right on. So there's some innate gift component. So it's like an innate or inner wisdom. I think it's connected to this kind of you know, our innate ability to receive guidance and knowing those kinds of things. So I noticed too, like this deep, beautiful purple here in her 3rd eye area. So this is a spiritual connection. Already talking about that. And then there's obviously like little spirit guides, angels, however you want to see them, popping up all over the place. And that's kind of like the overall theme is, I'll get into, I want to talk about this pansy. It was the first thing that came up. It was the first thing that I saw. When I first looked at it, I mean, besides from the face, when I first looked at it, I said, oh my gosh, it's like a head. It's a face and hair and neck and shoulders even. And, but then I sat with it after I got the face done, and I just had no idea where to start. And I think that speaks to how we feel when we have decisions to make. There are so many possibilities, and especially if you understand that, you know, our thoughts create our reality, there's unlimited potential, we can have pretty much whatever we want as long as we focus in the direction. So that almost makes it, that almost sets up some anxiety around making decisions. And so I was kind of asking about that. And I ended up, excuse me, I ended up sitting with it for quite a while before I saw anything, and I really had to do some deep grounding and just kind of, it just looked like a swirl of so many things. I couldn't decide where to start. I couldn't decide what to do, and that's kind of, I think, the feeling that we feel when we have decisions to make. We want to make the right decisions because it's like, you know, once I put paint down and I commit to this being a flower, it's a flower. And I forget that I could paint over it. And I think with decision making, that's a case too. We're afraid to like commit to something because we know we can have whatever we want. So it's like, do we want to choose that one thing and be stuck with it forever? But we're never really stuck. Everything's ongoing. So anyway, I went to this pansy, and I had just started outlining the petals, and I didn't really know what kind of flower it was going to be. I had to look it up later. I could see it in my mind's eye, and I knew what kind of petals it had. The colors really kind of drove me there, and then I looked it up after the painting's completed, and I realized it was a pansy. And I find it really interesting because pansies can be symbolic of remembrance, or it actually comes from the French term to think or thought. And so it goes along with this idea of mind, of remembering, and that's where the title of the oracle card comes from, is remember. Remember who you are as an infinite being. Remember that you are connected to source energy, that you have divine guidance at all times. And so it's purple and pink, so there's like this heart and spiritual energy and our creativity, and touching onto the yellow of our individual identity. So that feels like the key. That was the starting point. That feels like the key message is to remember, remember, remember. It's not so much about learning new things, it's remembering the things we already know deep in our inner wisdom. Right above here, if you can see that, I'll hold it up so maybe you get a little closer look. One of the spirit guides shows up, and it looks like a woman, and she's kind of dancing, and her heart's lit up. She's got her arms going, you know, and she's moving, and there's just like joy. It just feels like rejoicing and joy, joyful expression, and that's where it too is. Remember that you're meant to be joyful. Life is supposed to be fun, so there's a part of that too. This being in this top right quadrant is all about practical matters and linear things too. So bringing the joy into just our physical experience of the world too. And then the butterfly is all, you know, as you might guess, it's about transformation. It's also about movement. If you think about the migration of like monarchs or something, going long distances. They travel for very long distances. That's what I was kind of thinking about when I saw this one, that it relates to endurance in a sense too, not just the transformation and becoming the butterfly, but also in going to great lengths to get where you want to go. And that's in the practical realm, that's in that physical experience of the world kind of realm. The waterfall reminds me of like source pouring in. So it's in the butterfly kind of has this like upsweep from this. So this the ongoing source energy, the water being like emotion. It also speaks to me of like abundance coming into. And what's interesting too, if we divide it top and bottom, the line of awareness is here. All of this down here is stuff that we're not quite aware of yet. And so these koi fish, which to me are a wonderful symbol of abundance, are just coming up to the surface of awareness. And kind of awareness is right here and kind of taking those steps in to the door. And then if we kind of follow down here to the boat, it's like navigation or kind of travel, moving, transporting us. The spirit guide in here in the boat kind of left a space for us to sit and transport us to take the next steps, to it's a guide. What I was hearing was this guide, it will show you to the next steps. So it talks about, you know, their role. All the little angel spirits are doing different things, right? So she's rejoicing, expressing joy through movement, and this one here is like transporting and moving us. But also, I think they might be collecting these flowers. I wanted to say like they're like helping with healing, like this one here, in that emotional healing to get to that. So it's part of it. The door is open and inviting, so that's illumination, like wisdom. And this guide has their hand out. This one felt like an ascended master, like a Jesus and like a Christ energy, kind of inviting, hand out to kind of a next level or a next to like ascension or awakening through wisdom. And then down here, this book reminds me of like Akashic Records or your story or your history as a human being, but also as a soul, as a spirit. And so again, with the total message being like, remember who you are, as an infinite being, as an unlimited being with tons of potential and connection to the divine realm. Let's see, the lion up here. This was really interesting when I was creating it. I couldn't decide what it should be, and for a while it felt like a bunny. And I think it's interesting that it ended up being a lion because it felt quite soft and gentle. And this lion's gaze, you know, you think of a lion's like a predator and really strong. And so, but what's also interesting is we think of lion maybe like strength and courage. And courage, when I hear the word courage, because of the root word is connected to the word for heart, I think of connecting with the heart. And so that courage comes from being connected to that heart-centeredness, to the divine, and always looking up, right? And then lion also feels like a message about like pride, like pride in oneself, but the pride in the sense of like family and tribe. So that's that, and that's right there, like on the, like she's wearing that almost like a crown, right? And then the dragon is kind of hidden back there behind the courage. So when you have courage to look up and look, and this is all of this over here in this quadrant is all about the intuitive, spiritual, nonlinear, more receiving realm. And this blue dragon feels like subtle magic. It feels like kind of hidden behind, you know, maybe a more action-oriented energy of the lion. Definitely action-oriented. I mean, dragon is swift and agile, but just kind of subtle. I think the best word is subtle magic. But also relating to like voice and emotion. And there was something. Oh, and okay, so like it's looking like the frog and the dragon are looking at one another. And so the dragon's about like voice and emotion, being that blue, and being like maybe a water element. And the frog is like, frogs are loud, like be heard. Also a symbol of magic. We see that in folktales and things like that. It also, so this dragon would be a symbol of speaking or making sound, and the frog would be about like listening and hearing too, because they, as a totem, there's like a spirit animal, they are a symbol of going between realms or getting messages from the other side. So it's kind of an interesting thing as you speak your truth, as you look up, as you feel courage and your heart centered. You can communicate then back and forth a little bit easier. And that's what this key feels like too, is like this. So this frog would be like a symbol of navigating between realms. This key falls right in between this blue and red right here. So it's like an unlocking of the two, and it's related to, you know, they've got like fire and water, action and stillness, those two things that we think are opposing. This key is right in between it. So interesting too, because there's like a waxing crescent moon, which is like the first step toward fullness, right? So it's the first step in the phase back to the full whole moon. And so it's like this puzzle piece in between. So it's some type of really interesting. The key is just so interesting to me. I'd love to hear what you think about it too. This piece, these look like puzzle pieces to me. This one almost feels like a locomotive, again with like that transportation of movement. It feels like movement and moving from place to place. Those kind of things going on too for this week. Let's see what else. And then I wanted to talk too, just like go over what all the different spirit guides are doing. So there's quite a few around here, around her eye. And they look like they're just rejoicing. This one's got its arms up. They're just like present and kind of waiting and lending energy. This one here, if you can see, let's see, that one feels like, I heard giving color to your rainbows. This one is like bringing in joy, but then with the lotus also too, the joy leading to like awakening and blooming, making the flowers grow. That guide feels like it's making the flowers grow. This one's holding love, like holding space in a sense. I'm going the wrong direction with this. Sorry. There we go. So this one's like holding space, holding love, you know. So if we lose the feeling, this one is like holding it for us to come back to, and holding that space. Transportation again, like moving and rejoicing, grabbing, making the flowers grow. So lots of great stuff happening here. So the if you probably saw the card, it is called Remember, and it's a reminder that we have guidance available to us at all times, anytime we need it. So if we have decisions to make, really the only decision we need to make is whether or not to let in and accept the guidance and open our minds. I love this door as a symbol, like it's right here on like in like her brain, like open mind. It's probably like right, maybe the pineal is a little lower, but so it's like open your mind and let the guidance and let the spirit lead you is really what it feels like. And so for this week going ahead, it's I think that we'll feel more of the presence. If we allow it, we can feel more of our spirit guides' presence in the things we do. And so just remembering that it's just a matter of deciding to open our minds and let that and accept and receive the guidance that's always, always, always. They're always there. They're always involved in everything. So, okay. Well, I hope you enjoyed this week's reading, and I will see you later. Have a great week. Bye-bye.